Let's talk Bizarro. For my DC Cinematic Universe, I have Bizarro, Connor, Cadmus Labs, all sort of centered in my second Superman movie. So instead of going the traditional route where Bizarro's like from another dimension and he speaks in perfect backwards, I'm scrapping that for he's a clone like some of the other Bizarros. And instead of backwards speech, I'm just giving him incomplete speech. He's never been taught anything. He doesn't know how to speak. Everything is brand new to him. He has like the mind of an infant, except it's a fully formed adult mind, and he's developing his superpowers at the same time so he can hear everything all at once. It would be beyond disorienting to this guy. I want to establish that in my DC Cinematic Universe, it takes 72 hours approximately for Kryptonians to fully charge on solar radiation. So Bizarro starts off sort of like a normal person, but then gets worse and worse. So just starting off after Superman has found Cadmus Labs, everything's gone amok, subject B0 escapes. Some of the lab techs try to calm him down, referring to him as B0 and trying to convince him to get back into the tube for his own safety. But all he takes from that is that he is B0. But as that is going on, Superman is fighting a different experiment. C0. Connor Kent. Now later, Superman and Connor stop fighting and they start working together, and eventually Connor gets brought to the Fortress of Solitude. Once in the Fortress of Solitude, the Jor-El AI that runs the supercomputer that sort of is the fortress analyzes Connor's DNA and lets Superman know that Connor isn't a clone. He's a genetic hybrid of Superman and another human's DNA, later revealed to be Lex. So genetically speaking, Connor Kent is Superman's son with Lex Luthor. He's not a clone because Kryptonian DNA can't be cloned. Now, I mean that in a metaphorical sense. It can literally be cloned, but this is what happens when it is. Because Kryptonians evolved on a planet so saturated in deadly radiation to humans, Kryptonian DNA is very weird to unravel. I have Lex Luthor mention that the entire Alpha series all catastrophically failed. B0 was one of the first successes, but they quickly analyzed his DNA and realized that it would deteriorate rapidly under yellow sunlight. Jor-El starts telling Superman all of the bad things that clones got up to on Krypton when cloning sort of became a trend. Starting off, the clones don't look right. They have very pale skin. You can see their veins popping through. And some of them were advanced enough to learn human speech, but with others, the mental faculties never quite connected right. Eventually, this leads to full-blown neural degradation, and they just become mindless rage monsters. Another weird side effect of Kryptonian cloning is they are terrifyingly strong. So if with no superpowers, a Kryptonian clone is like 10 times stronger than a standard Kryptonian, Jor-El estimates that under the light of a yellow sun, Bizarro would be almost unbeatable. And then it becomes a race against time, because Jor-El also estimates that under the light of a yellow sun, the mutations that will happen to this Kryptonian with a body that constantly regenerates itself, the mutations couldn't kill it. So this guy could mutate endlessly. But during this, we get flashes back to Bizarro showing him sort of experiencing the world. We see him even stop some crimes because he has that childlike innocence of he doesn't want to see things get hurt. He sees footage on the news of Superman, and when he looks into a mirror, he notices that he's Superman. But what he notices as well is that Superman has an S on his chest, but he doesn't. So clearly something's wrong here. So he looks into the mirror, and using his heat vision, he carves an S into his chest. It scabs over and heals in a very weird way, showing that this clone isn't quite right. But later, as his super hearing starts to develop, he runs out of the city and runs into the forest just so it can be quiet for a little while. But once he's out in the forest, he gets attacked by a wolf. But nothing happens. His invulnerability has already kicked in, so it's just a wolf mauling at his hand, and Bizarro starts laughing because he thinks it's kind of cute. He thinks he's made a buddy. But as he's out there laughing, a nearby farmer hears this noise. He comes out and he sees a humanoid man being attacked by a wolf, and the farmer shoots the wolf to save this guy. And that sets Bizarro off. And Bizarro leaps at this man, and then the camera pans down to the shadow being cast from the outside of the farmer's house, and we see the silhouette of Bizarro ripping that man in half. And then he just starts a full-blown rampage. But stuff's been going wrong. Throughout this time, we'll be seeing him develop weird scabs that he keeps picking at, and some of them start developing weird bony protrusions. His hair begins falling out, his teeth begin changing shape. It all seems very painful. And then back with Jor-El, Superman, and Connor Kent in the Fortress of Solitude, Jor-El warns Superman that if this clone mutates enough, it could mean this world's doomsday. Yep, this is what Bizarro ends up turning into. Every single time he gets cut or he gets scraped as his invulnerability is sort of turning on, he starts developing weird bony protrusions out of that area. Instead of this big sort of triangle of bones in the center that Doomsday has, it would be an S, but made out of those weird bony protrusions. And then the rest of it, like, I'm trying to get as close to this as possible. So that is my Bizarro and Doomsday for my DC Cinematic Universe, because I figured that gets the best of both worlds. We get the very fun, sympathetic Bizarro before the horrible monstrosity mutation into the irredeemable, mindless monster that is Doomsday. I figured that would be a very fun thing to just sort of witness, just this unwilling transformation into a monster throughout the run of the film. I don't know. What do you guys think?